Well, you now own a business. This is the point where many buyers make mistakes. This is part 14, the final part of our 14-part series on how to buy a business, the biggest mistakes buyers make. We founded Worldwide Business Brokers back in 2001, and over the past couple of decades, we have helped business sellers and business buyers sell or buy their businesses. We have seen buyers make dozens of different mistakes. Almost every buyer makes initial mistakes over those years, and we want to make sure that, to the extent we can, that you can avoid the biggest ones. This video is about the biggest 8 mistakes that we see being made by buyers. Number 1, we discussed this briefly in the last part, part 13 on transition. What not to do initially. First, don't make any changes. Not for the first 90 days. No changes. Specifically, you don't change the name. That business has been generating revenue under its current name for probably years. If you change the name, I guarantee you the revenue will decrease. Don't change the name. Don't issue a press release. A press release is for somebody who needs to see their name in lights. But what press release does is it effectively announces a change in name. It does the same thing. So-and-so just bought this business. All of the clients and customers of the business knew the previous owner. Now they're dealing with a new owner. They don't know that new owner. That will drop the revenue. Don't change anything for 90 days at least. Number 2, not IDing your buy box, not identifying your buy box. We discussed this in either part 2 or part 3 of this series. Figure out what type of business you want, what industry, what type of employees, what size, etc. Find out what you want. If you don't identify your buy box, you will spend and waste months of your time going through business after business after business, 90% of which will not be suitable for you, and you'll never end up buying anything. Identify your buy box. Skimping or even skipping due diligence. You need to be turning over every rock and investigating every cranny of the business you're considering buying. Every business has problems. You need to identify them. Find out what's wrong with this business. There's something. There's probably several things. Some of them may not have been disclosed. You need to find out what they are and determine whether or not you can live with them, or you can manage them, or even correct them. The key part of due diligence is this. You need to make sure that what you think you're buying is what you're actually buying. Seller transition. It's a good thing to have the seller, who's been working the business for many years, helping you during a certain period of time here. Now, for the simplest business, you don't need the seller to stay on for months. You're buying a car wash, or you're buying a small bakery. Maybe you need to have them with you for a week, maybe a little bit longer. But a more complex business requires more hands-on and hand-holding. Make sure that the agreement that you sign includes a period of time where the seller stays on either in the business or at the very least accessible by phone. Seller transition is important. Working capital. You need to make sure that the business has enough capital in the till to survive the transition period. If the business is a $3 million deal and you need $100,000 in capital in the deal, you need to make sure that there's $100,000 in there, or you are likely to run out of money. So the idea is to determine where this working capital comes from. It could be from your own investment. It could be from the loan that you're getting to acquire the business. It could even be from the seller. But remember, every dollar of working capital that comes from the seller or comes with the business increases that business's value and what you pay by a dollar. So that $3 million business, if it comes with $100,000 in capital, is now a $3.1 million business. Understand working capital and how much you need, and then determine where it's coming from. Deal structure. Now, deal structure can define many aspects of a deal: financing, contingencies, due diligence, etc. But from a top-level layer, deal structure refers to one of two things. It's either a stock sale or an asset sale. Buyers customarily want an asset sale. Sellers want a stock sale. So an asset sale means that a buyer can choose what they're buying. For example, if the business has 30% of its inventory you find out is obsolete, you don't want that 30% and you can choose not to buy it. But at the same time, if it's an asset sale, you need to buy all of the assets that you need to buy may cost far more money to retitle or restructure. For example, if you're buying a delivery company and there might be 30, 40, 50 trucks, each one of those trucks in an asset sale would have to be retitled, and all of the costs that would entail would have to be covered by the company that you're purchasing. That's increasing the cost of the sale. At the same time, every agreement that the company is a party to, leases, contracts for vendors or employees, all of that would have to be renegotiated or would have to be assigned. Now, the problem with that is that sometimes the counterparty in those agreements will not be cooperative. They don't want to reassign leases or reassign contracts. And in many cases, they'll take advantage of a reassignment requirement by increasing the terms that are more favorable to them. A stock sale, everything goes: the good, the bad, and the ugly. Nothing has to be reassigned. No vehicles need to be retitled. None of the leases need to be renegotiated. It's a smoother transition from that point. However, the business then transfers with all of its liabilities. An asset sale eliminates that problem. So you need to determine what kind of a sale structure would be best for you, your capital, and the business itself. Deal structure is arguably the most important. The wrong attorney. This is a big one. You will need an attorney at some point, no later than the point of drafting a purchase agreement, which is your responsibility, the buyer's responsibility. Find an attorney with experience. You don't want your divorce attorney. You don't want your cousin who just came out of law school. You don't want the attorney that got your kid off of a $45 fine on a speeding ticket. You want somebody who's experienced in the purchase and sale of businesses. We have such attorneys in the Brokers Roundtable, which is our online support platform, thebrokersroundtable.com. Make sure that you have an experienced attorney to represent your side in the final process. And speaking of process, follow the process. Following the process, as we've laid out in these past 14 videos, is the proper sequence for getting a deal done successfully. And by successfully, we define getting the deal done to the closing, but with the outcome, a successful transition and a successful business. Make sure that you follow the process. Now, granted, these videos have been short and not in detail. We can help both as consultants or coaches. Go to worldwidebusinessbrokers.com and you can contact us that way. The brokersroundtable.com, contact us that way. We'll also be producing a much longer version of these 14 steps in the near future. Follow the steps, avoid the mistakes, and I think you'll find many years of enjoyment in the business that you have just purchased. Thanks for listening. I hope to see you somewhere in the future on YouTube.